Hello, everyone. Welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to cover three classic American road trip destinations: Route 66, Hoover Dam, and Las Vegas.
Stick around. We'll deal you in.
As we left Sedona, we headed back up the canyon northwest. We noticed that Route 66 was handy, and so we decided to hop on and see what it was all about.
So we get off at a place called Seligman, which it turns out there was a barber there, Angel, who was one of the pioneers of making Route 66 a historic route for tourists and kind of bringing it back to life after having been sidelined by the new Highway 40. And so his barber shop is now a museum and a gift shop, and there's a few other interesting spots there in town in Seligman. So it was great for us to get a little bit of the story of Route 66. That was pretty unfamiliar to us. The road itself wasn't super exciting, but as we got towards Kingman at the other end of things, we did have a great stop at the Outpost Saloon. A really nice bartender there and chatted with some of the locals. It was a hot day, so a good day for a nice cold beer. We were tempted to stay there the night because he's part of Harvest Hosts, but we wanted to make a little more time, so we drove about another hour and a half to get to a campsite on the river.
The next day, we got up and drove to Las Vegas. On the way, we stopped at the Hoover Dam. It was a really hot day when all that cement from the dam. It was pretty crazy walking around in the heat. But we did actually get in on a tour, and we did the full tour of the power plant and the dam, which was super cool. We did have to wait a little bit, so we did wander around a bit in the heat, but it was a really interesting place to see.
We got access to the tunnels. It's interesting how they built it even with tourists in mind. So some of it was sort of designed like subway tunnels, really nicely finished. The power plant, like you mentioned, the ventilation shafts. So we had a good little wander in there.
Yeah, and they'd actually like some of the flooring and tile that they'd used was meant for visitors and it to be kind of a showplace.
Then it was onwards to Las Vegas. We'd booked this RV resort quite a few months back just to be sure that we had a spot. And we knew after a lot of national parks and so on, we might want to treat ourselves a little bit. So this was a true luxury RV resort. They had two swimming pools and a fitness area and a cafe and a pickleball court. And it was warm. It was getting close to 40 degrees Celsius there. So it was nice to have some amenities. In fact, the first day that we rolled in there, we just hung out in the pool that evening. I think I've got a picture of the map of the resort here so you can just get an idea of the size and scale of it. But it was a great spot.
The next day, we spent the whole day touring around. We started on the strip, we wandered the hotels, saw the iconic kind of Caesar's Palace, the Bellagio. We also checked out some of the shops, like the Netflix shop with the Stranger Things shop, which was really neat. Kind of all the way they had set it up. It was really for big fans of Stranger Things. That was really neat. And finally, we had a small bite at Gordon Ramsay's pub. It was cool, as in one of the big hotels, and we had booked a food tour for later on, so that's why we wanted to kind of keep it light.
So we headed on up to the Fremont area. Our food tour was going to be there in the downtown district. Fremont Street, I found I liked it a little bit better, perhaps. The strip was kind of wide, a lot of construction, a lot of traffic, whereas Fremont was just a little bit more intimate. Apparently, it gets a little interesting there after dark. We were just there in the mid afternoon, so not too crazy. Enjoyed some people watching there and had a beer while we got ready for our food tour. The food tour was also really interesting. We stopped about 3 or 4 restaurants, but it was an opportunity to learn more about that area, its history, and kind of its revival. There was a tech entrepreneur has injected some cash into that area. So really great tour guide and some great eats. So that was a good stop.
And the day continues. We hurried on back to the strip to take in a show just outside of Caesar's Palace called Absence.
So this was a combination of acrobats and really crude, filthy humor, which was delightful. An excellent show, not the cheapest, but we had a really good night. We felt we had to go see something while we were in Vegas. This was a great pick. So we get out of that around 11 o'clock or so. We were feeling a little beat. It had been a long day touring all around the city. We watched a little bit of the fountains in front of the hotel there, and then decided to pack it in around midnight. But pretty solid day. For one day in Vegas, I think we did all right.
We had one more night in our luxury RV resort next to the strip, and we were kind of beat from the big day we had before, all downtown and on the strip. So we decided to hang out. We relaxed by the pool, took advantage of having all the amenities, showers, laundry, running water toilets, all of that.
So that pretty much takes you through the tour in this episode. We'll roll some stats here for you, some Hoover Dam stats. Hoover Dam is actually the same height as a 60-story building, and at its base, it is 660 feet thick. And the concrete is actually still curing after all of these years. Will be curing for a number of decades yet. Pretty neat spot. This was also our most expensive campsite to date. I think it was $90 a night, but I would say worth every penny. So Las Vegas was a fun urban destination, but it was pretty warm, pretty action packed. I was ready for some cooler temperatures, maybe some shade. Where are we headed to next?
Next up, we're going to a place that holds the world record for the hottest place on Earth, Death Valley.